Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining our Metamask Institutional webinar today. I'm Phil Langfelder, the Director of Customer Development here at Qredo, and I'm joined today by John McCain-Whitney, our esteemed Head of Product, who will be running our demonstration today. Firstly, I'd like to provide a quick introduction to Qredo. At its heart, Qredo is a provider of fully distributed infrastructure for the custody and settlement of digital assets. Now, security and governance are the two abiding principles by which we have built our platform, and we've taken a different approach to custody. So what we've done is remove vendor risks and single points of failure by putting custody onto a distributed layer 2 blockchain. Now, this blockchain acts as an asset tracking and ownership ledger. Then what we did was pair this distributed architecture with the next generation of multi-party computation that operates also on a distributed network of nodes. So we call this DMPC, or decentralized MPC. So we're often asked how we're different. Well, we use a blockchain, not a centralized SQL database, as our asset tracking tool. And we also use a network to host our MPC protocol, not a centralized vendor solution. Now, if you go to the Qredo website, you can find a whole host of articles and blog posts that will allow you to dig deeper into our technology and our solutions. But what you'll see here today is a demonstration of our integration of our wallets and our custodial infrastructure with Metamask Institutional. Now, I know a lot of the viewers today are very familiar with Metamask. Now, what is different is our partnership will offer you access to the widest breadth of DeFi, including all EVM chains out of one wallet. It'll also provide a flexible user-defined governance layer and a seamless ability to deploy assets into DeFi, all of which is protected by MPC. Now, this is already currently being used today by a number of our clients, and we're really excited to announce our exit from our beta program, at which point we will move fully into production. Again, at this point, I'd like to pass this along to John. He's going to run through our integration with Metamask. Now, it's going to be kind of in two parts, as I always say to all of our demonstration clients. So the first part kind of speaks to Qredo and what it is that we do from a governance perspective. And then secondly, you'll see John conduct a couple of trades. And when he does so, you'll see how the flow works and utilizes the governance layer from Qredo. So at this, I will yield the floor to John and let him run through the demo.
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us live. And thank you to anyone that watches this after it's been recorded and published. So without further ado, I'm going to ask for my screen to be shared, and I'm going to show you how all this intelligent software works. Cool. So I've set up my Qredo account. Anyone can set up a Qredo account today. You just go to qredo.network. If you're going to do that, do it in a desktop browser, because as part of the registration flow in the browser, we show a QR code, and that needs to be scanned with our Qredo mobile app to link those accounts together. So without further ado, the first thing I want to show you is just simply logging into our Qredo web application. So I'm going to do that with my email address and my password. I'm going to hit sign in. Now, unfortunately, Apple have updated iOS to stop banner notifications being displayed on screen if you are either screen recording or, as I'm doing, screen mirroring. It should have been displayed. It doesn't matter. There's two ways I can see that I've got a notification. It is in my notification tray. You can see approved sign-in request here. And the other way is, you may have noticed that a little red dot appeared on this button at the bottom called approvals. That's like a breadcrumb. So I can follow that to this section here. Now, this is all the categories of messages that you need to approve on the Qredo app. The Qredo app is just used to approve the messages. You don't actually initiate any transactions from there. So it's kind of a dumb application. Although having said that, there's a lot of really clever cryptography behind the app. So you can see a red dot on the profile section. I'm going to follow that. And we can see that there's a pending login request. So I'm going to tap that. And here you can see it gives me some geolocation of where I'm attempting to log into the browser from. we get some device ID and date and time, just to give me confidence that I know that this really is me logging in and someone else isn't trying to impersonate me. So the first thing I'm going to do is hit authorize on the phone. Now, what it asks for is my biometric. And the reason for this is because when you register the phone, we generate a signing key. We use a signing scheme called BLS, and the secret key, the private key, never leaves your phone. It gets locked in a secure element chip on your phone, and it only gets unlocked with your biometric. And it's that key that's ultimately used to sign all these requests. So I'm going to put my thumbprint on my phone. We also ask for a PIN. So you can actually consider the Qredo mobile app to be a 3-factor authentication device. You've got something you have, the phone with the key in it, something you are, the biometric, and finally something you know, which is this PIN that I'm going to enter now. And then finally I hit confirm and I get logged in. So let me just maximize my browser. When you first sign up to Qredo, you get what we call a personal account. Everyone gets a personal account. That's where you start from. Now, the limitation with a personal account is that only the account holder can initiate a transaction. You can have other people approve it. So what we did is we introduced the concept of organizations. And if we look here, there's a button that says add organization. So anyone can create an organization. It's really straightforward. You just enter some data about your company, your name and company address, and then you can start adding people into your organization. The one prerequisite for that is that they must have a Qredo account. Now, anyone can create an organization. Anyone can be a member of multiple organizations. And you can see I have one ready for the demo called Qredo MMI demo. So I'm going to switch into that organization. Now, the first thing I want to show you is the settings of the organization, just to give you some idea about how we do members and roles. So the person that creates the organization automatically becomes an administrator. And you can see me here, John is an administrator. Now, we always recommend that in an organization that you add at least one other administrator, just to give you access to your organization in the event that one of those administrators loses access to their account or worse. And you can see I've got several other of my colleagues as administrators in here. Now, there's a few things that only an administrator can do. Firstly is to manage this list by adding members. There's a button down here. You can invite more people in and assign them various roles. And the next thing that only an administrator can do is to create a fund. Now, a fund in terms of Qredo is simply a sort of collection of different assets and wallets and people. And I'll show you that shortly. When you create a fund, there's like a fund creation wizard. What you do is you then add people to the fund from your organization. And there's really 3 roles that we need to consider here. We've got a trader role, and we can see, let's see, for example, Dan here, he's a trader and potentially also an approver. Traders, no surprise, can trade. They can initiate a transaction. Another role we have is a fund organizer. They can't trade. They can see all the details of the fund and all the transactions. And their role is really to edit a fund, to update it, to add different wallets and add people to it. And then the third role, and it's really the most important role in the whole of the Qredo ecosystem, is the approver. And we can see we've got Phil is an approver, and he's going to be approving a transaction or several transactions shortly. So let me go to this page here. This is called my holdings page. And you can see these tiles are all funds, and I've created a few ready for this. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to be using a fund, a wallet here called the MMI Strategy Fund, and I'll be using that for the demo simply because it's already got some assets on there, and I don't have to worry about depositing assets in. But I do want to show you how to create a new wallet. So what I'm going to do, I'll do it in the same fund, I think. So we have the ability to edit a fund. And if I scroll down, we can see the section where we talk about the wallets. And I've just got the existing wallet here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a new wallet. And I'm going to call it, let's call it the Qredo Webinar wallet. Now, what type of wallet is it? Well, we currently support two types of wallets. We have a standard wallet, which is what Qredo has been doing for nearly 2 years. These wallets are quite unique in the ecosystem because they allow you to do instant and very cheap transfers of assets between one Qredo user and another. And that all happens on our blockchain. And even better than that, you can do a two-way swap. And the important thing about a swap is on our blockchain, it's a single record, which means that either the swap executes in both directions simultaneously, or it doesn't happen at all. You can't just have one side of that swap execute. And then the connected wallet. This is what we've done with our integration with Metamask. So I'm going to choose that. Then I need to choose a connection. I'm going to use the Metamask Institutional. We also have currently a test version that you can use, but we'll be deprecating that because there's no need, because the new wallets will operate, as Phil said, on any EVM compatible network, including all of the test networks. So I'm going to choose Metamask Institutional. Now, the policy, what I haven't shown you is when you create a standard fund in Qredo, you need to define a couple of different policy templates. Now, I could, if I wanted to, use them, but I'm going to show you how to create a custom policy. So what we'll find is it says add approvers. And if I hit the drop down, it shows me all of the people in my organization that have the approver role. Either they've explicitly just been given that role, or an administrator who automatically has that potential role. So I'm going to choose, importantly, Phil, and I'm going to choose Martin, and let's see, Luis, and I'm going to choose a threshold of 1 of 3. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in detail, but I want to go ahead and save that wallet. And then I can continue. We get a confirmation dialog just showing you any changes you've made to the fund, just to give you an opportunity to check that is all correct. And I'm going to go ahead and save those changes. And if I look now in the wallet, in the fund, I've now got this new wallet called Qredo Webinar Wallet. So let me just drill into here. So the first thing I want to talk about is this approval policy that I created. Now, I've done a very simple 1 of 3 policy, Martin, Luis, and Phil. Now, the important thing here is the threshold is 1 of 3. Now, Qredo is a true non-custodial wallet. And what that means is that we put the responsibility for governing your wallet and approving transactions entirely in your hands. What that means is absolutely critical that you can always meet this threshold. Now, 1 of 3 is great because it means that there is capacity in that threshold. If one of these people lost access to their account, or they went rogue, or you needed to remove them from the organization, you always got the opportunity to meet the 1 of threshold. If someone, for example, does leave the organization and you want to remove them, that is absolutely fine. We have this ability here to edit the policy. Now, the important thing to note here is that a fund organizer is the role that can initiate the change to a policy, but they can't do it unilaterally. Any change to a policy has to be approved by the existing members of the group according to the same threshold that's been defined. Now, the first part of the threshold, the 1, is entirely up to you. I've set it to be 1, just makes it a little easier for the demo. I only need 1 approval, but there's no limit here. Now, this is like a multi-sig. Traditional multi-sig schemes, they don't tend to scale well beyond sort of 4 or 5 people. Qredo has no such limit at all. You can choose pretty much any values you want here. If it's 1 person, that's fine. You may want to have more, 2 of 3. Or it might be 7 of 10, something crazy like that, but we support all of those. Now, the other thing to point out here is I'm going to be the trader, but I'm not one of the approvers, but I could be. Again, that is entirely up to you. Is it appropriate for someone to be able to approve their own trade? It may be, it may be not. We've heard both requirements from all the people that we've been speaking to. One consequence, though, is if I was an approver, that allows me to approve my own trades, if it was a 1 of X policy threshold, what that actually does effectively, it multi-factor enables the MetaMask extension. So it's not sufficient just to have the browser extension installed and to initiate a transaction. You would also need your mobile as well as a second factor to approve it. So that's the policy. Let me quickly talk about the wallet address. This is the address. Now, this has just been created by our MPC network. What I might do towards or after the demo is to just talk a little bit more about how the security of our blockchain and our MPC network works. But for the moment, that's the address. Now, the general flow is that you create the address in Qredo first, and then you connect it to the extension, and then you can use it in the same way that you do normal MetaMask. And to connect it, there's a button here that says View Connection Settings. And it takes me up to the settings of the organization. And the reason for that is simply because we have a single Connect to MMI button. And when I show you this, it will allow me, in theory, to connect any of the wallets that I have the trader role over to the extension in one simple operation. Now, I already have the extension installed. If I hadn't, this button would say install MMI, and it would link out to the Chrome store where you can download that extension and install it. Now, I'm going to hit the extension now. Now, I've also noticed, and I need to apologize for this. Actually, it's not so bad, but I was just finding that the opening of the extension has been sort of slowed slightly. I think it's a combination of my mirroring, mobile mirroring software and the streaming software that we're using today to talk to you. But anyway, it doesn't seem too bad. Now, if we look in the account selector, we've got two accounts here. First to point out is account 1. This is a standard standalone MetaMask account. It's not a Qredo wallet. It's just one of the things that when you install the extension, as you probably know if you've ever installed either the MMI or the standard Orange Fox MetaMask, you're asked to create account 1. You either create a new account 1, in which case you're given some seed words to safeguard, or you can import some seed words. And that gives you the ability to have standard standalone wallets if you need those, to use those for any reason, and to have a mix of one or more Qredo wallets. So I have this one here that's already selected my MMI strategy wallet. And as I mentioned before, that's the wallet I'm going to be mostly using in the demo today, just to make it easier because it already has some assets on there. So what I'm going to do, though, is I'm going to connect the new wallet just to show you what the flow looks like. Firstly, there's a permissions dialog that asks permission for the extension to access that wallet. So I'm going to hit confirm. And then we get a list of all the wallets that I've got, that I have trader rights. And what we also do is we tell you the tags here. We've got the name of the fund and we've got the name of the organization. So you know which wallet is the correct one to connect. And I'm going to connect the top one, the one I just created, Qredo webinar wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and tick that and connect. So if I look back in the extension, we can now see that that wallet is there available for me to switch to if I needed. Just a couple of things to point out here is, firstly, if you've got multiple traders that have access to the wallet in Qredo, they can all connect the same wallet to their own instance of MetaMask. So multiple people essentially can use the same wallet. The other thing this means, it is quite cool, is if I lost access to this machine for some reason, it died or it was stolen, it doesn't matter, because all I need to do is to go to a new machine, launch my browser, log into Qredo, approve the login request on my phone, reinstall the extension, reconnect the wallet, and I get back to exactly where I was with all my assets in position. So I think I've kind of covered all the setup. So what I'm going to do as a first example, I'm going to just send some assets from that wallet that I've got with some assets in. We can see the assets here. I've got some ETH and I've got some USDT. And I want to send some to the new wallet. So you may have seen this functionality. If I hit send in MetaMask, there's an option here that says transfer between my accounts. And I want to send it to the new wallet, the Qredo webinar wallet. And I'm going to say, let me send 0.1 ETH. I hit next. Now, this is where things are a bit different. Normally, if you hit confirm in MetaMask, you'd expect that transaction to execute immediately. But this is where we've inserted our Qredo approval flow. So I'm going to hit confirm. And I think we're going to switch to Phil, who can show you the approval message on his phone. So just give that a few seconds to arrive. And it should be there.
Here we go. And now at this point, you'll see the option is under custody, which means essentially an approval of a transaction. And essentially, much like when you log into the phone, you log into Qredo the first time, it's going to follow a very similar process. We're going to look to see our transaction, and we'll see our transaction details. We'll be able to see the wallet from which it is being deployed to, and the wallet to which it's going to be directed, and the basic amounts, who in fact initiated it. I, as the approver, if I'm sitting right next to John, boy, it's super easy. But if I'm not, obviously I want to have the details so that I'm able to understand what it is that John has done in order to complete this transaction. This really is a very straightforward one, so I can simply approve. It once again uses my facial ID. It'll ask for my PIN, and then I can confirm the transaction. At this point, you will now see the release of the transaction itself.
Yeah, so if you could switch us back to my worldview. So cool. I'm going to just show you now. If I switch to that new wallet, we can see it's not executed yet. So we're still waiting for that to happen. Oh, and we've heard a ping. So
not the ping of the network saying we're completed. But while we wait for this, I think there's a couple questions that I saw coming online, which spoke about the basic structuring of funds and what's the structure to follow. And I think that's a really important element, right? Because essentially, what are we looking at? Well, the organization is kind of the key to accessing MMI, right? Once our engineering team enables that organization, you will have the ability to access MMI. And within that, what does that mean? What's an organization? Well, again, this takes me back to when I ran operations for hedge funds. The organization for me really explicitly can be seen as that lead corporate entity, that investment management entity, which essentially is managing capital, managing funds. The joy of having a webinar at home. Sorry about that. So the investment manager is in fact would be the organization. It can also be looked at as a corporate entity. Under that, then what does it mean? You're going to create funds. So the fund can be what? It can be a specific fund for which you're managing assets. It could be a treasury account. Within each fund, you can establish multiple wallets, and each of these wallets can have different levels of approval and control that John noted earlier in the demo today. So I think it's really important to understand that the way it'll be laid out will be very commensurate with the way you establish your setup within any kind of accounting platform.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, Phil. I guess the other thing I'd just say is that funds are really a way to sort of organize your users to give different permissions to both the fund and the approvers in the wallets on those. So it gives you some granularity. Cool. So you can see that ETH has now arrived. What I'll do now is I'm going to switch back to the strategy wallet where all my other assets are. And I just want to show you a few different transaction types. And I'm going to start with everyone's favorite, which is Uniswap. This is my favorite. This is kind of where I started in the world of DeFi. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to hit Connect Wallet. I'm sure you've seen this. We choose MetaMask. MetaMask will then list all of the accounts that it has in the extension and ask which ones of those I want to connect. And I want to stick with the MMI strategy wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and hit next and connect that to Uniswap. And then Uniswap can now see my balance. I've got 0.3 ETH in here. So let's say I want to swap 0.1 of that. What we want to swap it for? Well, I think it would be rude if we didn't swap it for some Qredo token. For any of those out there that are not aware, we launched our own token last year. It's been a great success. We're looking to build on the utility of that token over time as we move to a more decentralized model. So I'm going to say I'd like to swap for some Qredo. We get a fairly good deal today. and we hit swap. We get the quote from Uniswap. We confirm the swap. We get the standard MetaMask dialog with the gas and everything. We just expand that out. And again, I'm going to hit confirm. Just whilst we wait for that to process, I'm not going to get Phil to show his screen again. I think it just makes things a little bit messy, but I'm going to ask him as soon as that pops up on his phone if he wouldn't mind approving. Actually, no, I'm not. Phil, before you do that, I forgot to show something. So Doris the trader gets to see this little window. So what I'm going to do, actually, just let that sit there in parallel to my main browser. So she knows, sorry, not Doris, I'm getting mixed up. That's my the character I normally use for demos. Today I'm doing it as me, so apologies for that. So yeah, I can see that this says awaiting approval. What are we waiting for? Well, I can go into Qredo at any time and drill down into that fund and look at the strategy wallet, and here we can see approvals. Now you can see all the ones I've done previously. They've all gone green with confirmed. The current one, though, it's in white with authorized. That simply means that I've hit the confirm button in MMI, but we're still waiting for approval. Who we're waiting for approval from, I can look at the details here. And in particular, I can remind myself who the approvers are, what the threshold is. So if I wasn't on a webinar with Phil, I maybe get on the phone, hey, Phil, I need you to approve this transaction. So over to you, Phil, if you wouldn't mind, and then we'll see some things happening on my screen.
Absolutely. I am now authorizing the transaction, which
Cool.
you see it goes green.
Yeah.
The box over that John had pulled out, the show required, waiting for an action has now disappeared. And the box goes green. You can now see exactly precisely who actually authorized that transaction.
Yeah, we can see Lewis and Phil actually authorized it. We made the 1 and 4 threshold. That's all gone green. I think there was a little ping, which means if I go back to Uniswap, it's done. And we can see the updated balance in Uniswap. And of course, we can also see it importantly in the MMI extension there. I've got a nice little amount of Qredo. So what's next? It's all the rage, NFTs. So we're going to go to OpenSea. Now, I've already connected my wallet and I've already done a search. I've limited it to a maximum of $100 because some of the prices of these NFTs go just absolutely insane. And we also just filtered it by Ethereum network. So I need to choose one of these to purchase. And I don't know. I like this animated character with the question mark. So let's go in and buy that now. Confirm the checkout. And just wait for the MetaMask pop-up to appear. I think it's delayed, as I said, because of all the CPU use on my machine. So there we go. What gas we're paying. It's not so bad today. I've seen these go crazy prices over the last few months. But again, I'm going to hit confirm. And whilst we wait for that to process, I'm going to, again, as soon as that pops up on Phil's phone, I'm going to ask him to approve. Should be there.
And here it is right now. Once again, jumping through the general process to find my custody choice, approve the transaction. Once again, facial recognition, end PIN, and finally confirming the transaction itself.
Cool. So that's pop-up has disappeared. I know something's happening. We just need to wait for the underlying chain to catch up and have that transaction broadcast to it and mined. And we're going to own an NFT to add to the collection to one I bought earlier whilst I was rehearsing for this demo. So there we go. So if I go to my account, we can see I've got 2 nice NFTs that I own. Brilliant. Right. What's next? I think the final one we want to show you, I just wanted to, excuse me, Phil mentioned the fact that we support any EVM compatible network. I didn't actually show you this. You know that you need to, in MetaMask, if you want to use some other EVM networks, you need to add it to here. add network and enter your RPC details. You'll also need to do the same for Qredo, almost, because out of the box, Qredo supports Ethereum, Ethereum Ropsten, Polygon, Arbitrum, and Optimism. So if it's one of those networks you're using, you won't need to do anything in Qredo. If it's some other one, you just need to add the same EVM details inside your Qredo interface. So yeah, we support basically anything that MetaMask supports, Qredo supports. There are some small exceptions that we're working on. Some other chains have some strange requirements for their signature algorithm that we're looking at. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to switch to Polygon. And if we look here, we can see I've got some Matic and USDT and some DAI. So I've got some stuff in here to play with. And the example I'm going to show you is on Aave. I've already connected my wallet and I want to deposit some USDT. And the amount I'm going to deposit, let's go wild and deposit 500 USDT. I hit continue, hit deposit. We get the MetaMask dialog with the very low fee in Matic, obviously this time because we're on Polygon. And again, I'm going to hit confirm. And again, just whilst we wait that, I'm going to ask my colleague Phil if he would do the honors again and approve this. Again, if I wanted to, I could go and track the status of this in Qredo and see who the approvers are, etc. So you should have that by now. Cool. So I know that it's a little bit slow here, so we may just, wait for this to complete over the next few minutes. And I'm just wondering if we have any questions that have come up at all. Oh, transaction underpriced. That's interesting. So something shifted in the gas. So let's try that again. Right, hopefully any second now. Phil's going to have another transaction to approve, and hopefully this time it's going to go through.
There we go.
Fingers crossed.
Here we go.
If it fails again, we'll move on.
Increase, and like we've seen before, users have seen, you can always able to increase the gas within the MetaMask extension itself. In this instance,
It's completed. Yeah. So we've got 500 earning us a bit of APY, which is nice. So I think that's really as far as we wanted to go, showing you the actual software. I don't know whether there's any more questions that we could answer. There's a few things that I'd probably also want to talk about. We've got a question. Why use MPC on this use case? How does it work? My favorite subject. So just a bit of background. I've been with Qredo for just over 3 years, nearly since the start. And the founders really pulled together a team of people with a background in applied cryptography. So we wanted to apply that knowledge to the world of cryptocurrency. So we explored a number of options around cryptography and decided that MPC was the best choice for what we were trying to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back here and show you the address. So this is the address at the bottom of the screen that was created by our MPC network. How was that created? So what happens is when you ask Qredo to create a wallet, what we do is we write a record to our blockchain, and that record basically says, create a wallet, please, for Qredo MMI demo. That's the organization. These are the 4 approvers, and this is the threshold. So that gets baked into our blockchain. Now, what's happening is our blockchain has been monitored by our MPC network. And what it does, if it sees a request to create a wallet or generate an address, it selects at random 2 nodes out of about 36 that we have on our network. Those two nodes are guaranteed to be in physically distinct data centers. And they can perform the first pass of our MPC protocol. Our MPC protocol actually is an open source protocol. It's part of the project under the Apache Software Foundation. And the first pass of that, sorry, the MPC nodes, they all have their own secret key material. They're secured in tamper-proof HSMs. And they can perform the first pass of this MPC protocol. And the output is this address. Now, it looks like a standard layer 1 address. It looks like it was created by a single private key, which is a kind of traditional way to generate an address, but it wasn't. There never is a single private key. There's no single point of failure or theft. So what we do is we then present that address to the user. As you've seen, the user can connect it to the Metamask Institutional extension and use it and interact with some dApp using it. And when they do that, what happens is they then effectively send, or the extension sends, the unsigned transaction back to Qredo. So what we can do then is we look on our blockchain to see who the approvers are and what the threshold is. So we can send it to all these people. They then sign that request with the BLS key that is in their phone. And once we've collected enough signatures to meet the threshold, that allows us to then write another record to the Qredo chain, which is a transaction signing request. And again, that kind of request on our chain is being monitored for by our MPC network. And this time they perform the second half of our MPC protocol. And the output this time is the actual layer 1 transaction signature. And again, the signature, it looks like it was generated by a single private key, but it wasn't. It's the magic of all the clever maths behind the MPC protocol. So hopefully that answers that question. We got any more? Oh, one for you, Paul.
Okay, I'll take this one. So how do we get onboarded to MetaMask Institutional? Well, it's kind of two streams. There's one associated with Qredo and the other with Consensus themselves. So with Consensus, there is a portion whereby they're going to do an AML KYC, the anti-money laundering, know your customer checks on the specific entity, which we will define as the organization. After that, once that is completed and the order form has been completed with Consensus, it gets moved to us. In the same time, you can register with Qredo, bring all your users in, create your organization. It will not yet be ready until KYC is completed and the organization has been enabled, but you can then create your organization, create your funds, establish your governance structure. After the enablement, we will sit with you and we'll work to do three things. We will help create a connected wallet. We will connect you directly to MetaMask, and we will add with you the EVMs that you require. So all in, I think from a perspective of beginning to end, our process could be very quick, whereby you're up and running within 5 business days.
What's the current status of the tracking reporting capabilities of the Qredo platform, both today as well as what will be available in the near future? That's a great question. In fact, it was something I was thinking of showing. So what we do in Qredo at the moment is we track all the approvals. So I think I showed you that earlier, which is here. So you can see who approved what. This is actually all, a record on our blockchain. But I guess what the question is probably more aimed at is transaction history. Now, what Consensus have done recently, have introduced something called the portfolio view. So let me show you that. So go into the extension, and there's a nice button here, view in portfolio. This may take a second or two to load. They're still working on this. This is like the first release. So we get like a summary of our holdings, but importantly, we get a transaction view. And what you can do is you can dump this out to a CSV file. Now, in the future, we're working very closely with Consensus. They're going to provide API access to this data. So what Qredo will do is we will then use that API to suck all that data so that you can also see it in the Qredo interface. Now, the reason for that is, and I haven't really got this demo set up very well for this, but you could have a fund that has a mix of our standard Qredo wallets plus the MetaMask wallets, and it'd be ideal to have an aggregate view of all the transaction histories, regardless of what type of wallet it is. So I think that probably answers that question. Any more?
I see one question from Eric here, who's asking how close we are to MetaMask and Qredo creating a legitimate way for hedge funds to self-custody assets instead of holding them on Coinbase custody. That's a great question, because I think the first question you can always ask is, what does custody of digital assets mean? And specifically, what is it that a qualified custodian provides as an additional value other than an additional cost to you as either the manager or to your investors within the fund itself? So it is a great question. We already at this point are supporting clients who are running funds within a self-custody perspective. Now, the question of how we look at this going forward is kind of multi-pronged, whereby we are working specifically with those that are deemed qualified custodians and others fund administrators, potentially bringing them in at a level in which John could get into much more detail with respect to something called our core client. So our core client really is a digital identity, whereby a rule set could theoretically be run by a server-based process, which could incorporate a third party, such as a custodian and or a fund administrator. That administrator then can provide that level of custody, which heretofore has not really been possible even within the traditional finance world. So more to come on this over the next 6 months. It is a great question, something that I always love to discuss. Again, from a former ops guy, this is near and dear to my heart.
Just to add to that, yeah, I mean, Phil mentioned, I mean, you've nailed it, Phil. The other way, the simple way to consider it is, you saw the policy here. These are 4 humans with their Qredo mobile app. So what Phil's talking about is the opportunity to replace one of these by a server process that maybe an external third party could host and offer their services as a licensed or qualified custodian. Right. Good question, Michael Cunningham. Thank you. Yes. So our architecture is a decentralized architecture, but currently we do operate the entire network ourselves. So the actual blockchain, it's based on 6 validator nodes. They are in 6 geographically distinct data centers, but they are under our control. Now, we are on a journey to decentralize, and there's quite a few steps in that. We're looking to, first of all, move the validator nodes onto Amazon to utilize some really cool technology that Amazon and some of the other cloud providers have got. But Amazon's case, it's called Nitro, which is effectively an HSM-backed Amazon machine instance. We've got some other components we need to move to Amazon as well. Then we're going to move the MPC nodes to Amazon, also utilizing the AWS Nitro capabilities. We need to update our MPC protocol. Currently, it's a 2 of 2 scheme. We're going to make that an X of Y scheme. So that ultimately will allow us to start engaging with third parties. We have a huge list of interested people that want to operate a node as part of the network. And that node will will initially just be a validator, but then we're going to roll in the MPC node into that. So ultimately, we're looking to have a true decentralized network, fully open source. All the crypto you've seen today, I mentioned the MPC protocol is open source. The BLS signature scheme you've seen on the phone and the little 6-digit PIN, the crypto behind that, is all part of an open source project. And over time, as we move fully decentralized, we're looking to open source all the code of the Qredo network itself. So we'll be able to have third-party validators. They will get rewards in the fees that we collect from all the transactions. And yeah, it's a journey that we are just starting out on. So yeah, thanks for that question. Any more?
Let's scroll through here and see if we have anything else that we can add.
Just whilst you're doing that, I just wanted to point out, if you are interested in taking this a step further, you can go to our website. There's a solution here, Metamask Institutional. It will take you to this page. We've co-opted the amazing animated consensus Fox that I absolutely love. You get some more detail here. And if you want, you can arrange a call or a demo, and we'll get back in touch with you.
And specifically, I'm seeing Ed, I'm seeing your message here. I will reach out to you after this, and we can further discuss what MetaMask implementation will look like for you specifically.
And just one final thing to add is that we're waiving the Qredo fee for our sort of standard transaction fee for the first 90 days that we move out of beta. So another reason to encourage everyone to join up. And as I mentioned before, even if you don't want to try MetaMask, you want to just try Qredo out, Qredo.network in a desktop browser. It's a guided registration flow, and hopefully you'll have fun signing up and using it.
Terrific. So if there's nothing left other than that, I think we will call this a wrap for the day. Again, I'd like to thank John for running through the demo. He again is the best person to run through this process. So if you do have any other technical questions, please, if you want to follow up, send them our way. If you have questions more about the basic setup and the governance and kind of the regulatory aspects, certainly direct them my way. For me, that's something I'm always interested in, kind of listening to you, understanding what it is that you're trying to do when you trade, the networks that you use, and the processes that you've seen, and where we can improve upon that.
Absolutely, yeah. And thanks, Phil, for being my approver for the day. Thanks again, everyone, for joining, and good morning, good afternoon, or good night, depending on where you are or when you're watching this. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from any of you.
Thank you all.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye now.